50 Cent just got put on blast, and he did not take it lightly. A local reporter in Louisiana exposed what looks like a quiet tax deal between Fifth and the state's MAGA-backed governor, and now it's blowing up in his face. What was supposed to be a low-key power move is turning into a messy political drama, and Fifth is snapping back hard. About a month ago, people in Louisiana were told to stay engaged, vote, and not sit on the sidelines. There was an election happening with 4 constitutional amendments on the ballot. And we're not just talking local ordinances. These amendments would literally be written into the Louisiana state constitution. That means if they pass, they're super hard to change later. Now, what's on the table? These amendments cover tax law changes, creating specialty courts, shifting judicial election dates, and more. And here's the thing, activists on the ground, especially black organizers, have been on it. They've been holding town halls and doing grassroots outreach to make sure people understand just how much this stuff matters. One of the key groups pushing this effort is Power Coalition, who teamed up with activist Gary Chambers Jr. They've been telling everyone, vote no on all 4 amendments. They even dropped a graphic on social media breaking it all down. But here's where it gets juicy and messy. Gary let it slip that Republicans are shook and in panic. Apparently, text messages started going out even to folks who don't live in Louisiana, trying to push a different narrative. And guess who they brought in for backup? 50 Cent. According to Gary, 50 just signed a 45-year lease on studio buildings in Shreveport, and now he's hopping into Louisiana politics with a video backing Amendment 2. In the video, 50 says he's proud to be a new Louisiana business owner and wants to bring jobs and prosperity to the state. He says Amendment 2 is good because it gives teachers a permanent raise and doubles tax deductions for seniors. He even claims it's a bipartisan effort and that every Democrat in the state Senate voted to get it on the ballot. Sounds convincing, right?
I want to see more jobs and prosperity in the state of Louisiana. This is why I support the Amendment 2 on your ballot this Saturday.
Well, hold up, because the Power Coalition and Gary Chambers are not buying it. They say Amendment 2 might sound nice on the surface, but when you look deeper, it's actually taking money from early education, K-12 schools, special needs programs, and even infrastructure like roads. Gary broke it down. They're restructuring the entire tax system to benefit wealthy business owners like 50. Meanwhile, working-class folks, teachers, bus drivers, restaurant workers will end up paying more through higher sales taxes. And here's the kicker. What 50's calling a raise for teachers is really just a reallocation of existing money. Teachers won't actually see more money in their checks. In fact, they might lose money once the increased taxes hit. Gary even said the governor was caught on a hot mic at the White House talking about this, which just shows how desperate things are getting. They needed a high-profile name to sway voters, and they called on 50 Cent to do it. But Gary isn't here for the spin. He said he doesn't mind 50 doing business in Shreveport or trying to help the city grow. What does bother him is a wealthy outsider coming in and telling everyday black Louisianians what's supposedly good for them, based on what he heard from white politicians. Gary called that out as disingenuous and warned that just because state Senate Democrats voted for it doesn't mean it has the support of the black community. In fact, Louisiana's voter turnout has been so low that many of these politicians weren't even elected with majority support. Right now, black voters make up 37% of the electorate in Louisiana. Gary says that if just 12 to 15% of white voters agree with them, these harmful amendments could be shut down completely. And here's the part that really got folks in their feelings. He said, bringing in 50 Cent to tell people to vote yes on one amendment when activists are pushing a simple vote no on all 4 message just confuses the situation. Gary also mentioned that neither 50 Cent nor anyone on his team reached out to the Power Coalition or other black advocacy groups in the state before putting that video out. He said he even tried reaching out through national contacts to give 50 the benefit of the doubt. Maybe 50 didn't fully understand what he was promoting. But still, this is a complex piece of legislation. It was so hard to understand that people actually sued to get it taken off the ballot because the language was too long and confusing. At the end of the day, Gary says this amendment is about helping the rich stay rich while putting more of the tax burden on working-class people. And let's not ignore the bigger issue. He said it's disappointing when black celebrities who've built wealth start co-signing white politicians and then use their platforms to influence other black folks in ways that might hurt them. His message? Respectfully, 50. This ain't it. Oh, and Gary had one more thing to get off his chest. He pointed out how 50 Cent stayed silent during major national conversations about black political power, like the presidential election, but is suddenly jumping in to sway local elections in Louisiana. And the cherry on top, 50's video mentioned special needs children as a reason to vote yes, while the federal government is actively slashing funding for those same kids under the Department of Education. Safe to say, Louisiana's elections got a whole lot messier, and it looked like black voters are being pulled in two different directions. One side says vote no across the board. The other side is coming with celebrity endorsements and promises that sound sweet but may be sugarcoating a bad deal. So what's the deal here? And why did 50 Cent do this thing? Well, Amendment 2 was supposed to cut the state's top income tax rate and shake up how taxes are handled. You see, 50's got money tied up in Louisiana, like that massive film studio he's building in Shreveport. He even used his G-Unity Foundation to push support for it. But here's where it gets messy. Voters weren't feeling it at all. Social media went off. Critics, especially locals, were calling him out of touch, saying he clearly had no idea what the amendment really meant for everyday people in Louisiana. One of the biggest points of contention was the claim he made about permanent teacher pay raises and tax relief for seniors. Opponents said that was straight up misleading. If you look past the headline, what the amendment was really doing was shifting the tax burden away from rich investors like him and onto the backs of regular working class folks, many of whom are already struggling with high sales taxes and underfunded public services. And let's be real, 50 did not address any of those concerns in his response. He didn't admit to any mistakes. He didn't say, maybe I jumped into this without knowing the full story. Instead, his statement felt like a PR move, focused more on protecting his business rep than actually engaging with the backlash. People were quick to point out that it looked like he was reading from a scripted memo, likely prepped by Landry's team, and he came off like someone who hadn't done his homework on the real impact this amendment could have on voters, especially black and working class communities in Louisiana. And you already know the internet don't play. Commentators and local voices were quick to label this as a sellout moment, saying 50 was prioritizing his pockets over the people. The optics? Not cute. It felt like a rich outsider swooping in, co-signing conservative tax cuts, and ignoring the folks who've actually been living and fighting in that community for years. In the end, even though 50 Cent tried to spin his involvement as a positive job-creating move, he completely sidestepped the deeper criticisms. He never addressed why the amendment was so widely opposed or why voters ultimately rejected it. And that silence just made it all look even more shady. And at the end of the day, the amendment flopped hard, with less than 40% of the vote. And it wasn't just that one. It was part of a whole MAGA package of tax changes that all got rejected. Even Donald Trump Jr. had co-signed it, and it still tanked. Now the governor is out here blaming the L, talking about conspiracies and George Soros like it's a Netflix thriller. Meanwhile, 50's name is all tied up in this political drama. And to make things worse, Louisiana just killed a $150 million film tax credit, something that would have helped 50's whole TV film hustle in the state. So basically, 50 took a political gamble, tried to keep it quiet, and now it's blowing up in public. The voters weren't buying it, the tax deal flopped, and now both the governor's plans and 50's business moves are taking a hit. But 50 is not the first nor the last hip-hop persona to tad into the political landscape and push a certain narrative in order to reach some kind of a goal. Other hip-hop celebrities have dipped their toes into politics under the guise of community empowerment and reform, but ended up looking like they were just out for themselves. The pattern is real. So first up, we cannot forget that whole Lil Wayne and Kodak Black situation during the 2020 election. These two hopped on the Trump train right before the election, publicly endorsing him. Lil Wayne even posted a smiling photo with Trump, and Kodak Black had his legal team working overtime praising Trump's policies. Now, both of them claimed their support was rooted in things like criminal justice reform and economic opportunity for the black community. But let's be real. Shortly after their public endorsements, they both got presidential pardons for serious federal charges. So of course, folks side-eyed the whole thing like, was this really about justice or just getting out of jail free? The timing was just a little too convenient. Then we had Kanye West, and y'all already know his relationship with Trump was peak chaos. Remember when he pulled up to the Oval Office with that MAGA hat, talking prison reform and love for everybody? He said he wanted to help the black community, and to be fair, he did back the First Step Act, which aimed at some prison reform. But critics weren't buying that it was all for the people. A lot of folks felt like he was using the moment to boost his own visibility, especially since this was around the same time he was pushing albums and promoting Yeezy. So, yeah, that whole thing felt more like a marketing campaign than a mission for justice. Now let's talk Nicky Jam, which might surprise some of y'all. Nicky actually popped out in support of Trump at a rally in Las Vegas in 2024. Yes, after previously criticizing his immigration policies. That little flip-flop had people shook. The backlash was immediate, and not long after, he quietly deleted those pro-Trump posts. So naturally, people started wondering if he was trying to finesse some kind of political favor or business deal instead of really riding for the cause. 'Cause what else would make someone do a full 180 like that? Then there's the whole wave of rappers showing up at Trump rallies like Chef G and Sleepy Hallow. These appearances were often wrapped up in language like supporting criminal justice reform. But to many in the culture, it felt more like clout chasing or low-key negotiating for pardons. Like, are we supposed to believe these rappers just woke up one day wanting to support conservative politics out of nowhere? Make it make sense. And honestly, this isn't just about Trump. There's a wider trend here. More and more, we're seeing hip-hop artists and celebrities endorsing political candidates or policy changes that just so happen to benefit their own businesses. We're talking tax breaks, entertainment project incentives, and even real estate development deals. And the gag is, they always present it like it's about helping the community. But when you peel back the layers, the main community getting help is their bank account. So this whole celebrity activism thing gets complicated real quick when business and politics start mixing. Because while it's totally fair for artists to care about political issues, let's not pretend some of these moves aren't straight up self-serving. It's giving community theater, not community reform. So here's the deal. When hip-hop artists start getting political, it's not just noise, it's movement, like real impact. These artists have been out here mobilizing their fan bases, especially young folks and the Black community, and it's actually showing up in the numbers. Think of campaigns like Respect My Vote, or when they drop political freestyles. Those aren't just for clout. They've actually gotten people to the polls, especially in tight races. Their influence can literally make the difference. And let's be real, fans don't just hear music, they absorb it. People who regularly listen to hip-hop, especially younger fans, often start adopting the same values their favorite artists talk about: gender equality, challenging authority, building up marginalized communities. Hip-hop has always had that revolutionary core, and now that influence is showing up in how fans think and even how they vote. That mic isn't just for entertainment anymore, it's political. But here's where it gets really interesting. Fans be feeling like they know these artists personally. That whole parasocial thing, it's strong in hip-hop. When your favorite rapper drops a song about struggle or injustice, and you've already been feeling connected to their story, of course you're gonna listen when they say who they're backing or what cause they're riding for. And a lot of fans don't just agree. They follow through with real actions. Voter registration, protesting, donating. That connection runs deep. Now let's not forget, these artists shape the entire culture. When someone like Kendrick or J. Cole takes a political stance, it's not just a hot take. It shifts convos online, drives headlines, influences what people are buying, even how they show up in their communities. Hip-hop has always been that platform for social commentary, and when the message is strong, it hits across every level: music, fashion, social justice, you name it. But don't get it twisted, not everybody eats it up. Some fans push back hard when their fave gets political, especially if it feels performative or off-brand. People can clock inauthenticity fast, especially in this era of receipts and reposts. If an artist suddenly gets woke right before an album drop, yeah, folks are gonna talk. And let's just say the backlash can be brutal if the message feels more like marketing than genuine care for the community. So political endorsements from hip-hop artists do matter. They shape minds, move people, and make headlines. But the effect depends heavily on how authentic and aligned it all feels. When it's real, the fans ride. But if it smells like a stunt, the internet will drag. As for 50's future in politics, we might just be seeing more from him on TV and not in music videos. 50 ain't backing down from politics. In June 2024, he pulled up to Congress with Benjamin Crump, chopping it up with both sides, Republicans and Democrats, about boosting Black-owned businesses across the country. He made it real clear. He's investing heavy in Louisiana and wants more power for Black entrepreneurs, especially in the liquor game and music industry. Now, people been side-eyeing him ever since he linked up with Louisiana's MAGA governor and flirted with that Trump cosign. But to this day, he hasn't picked a side or backed anyone for 2024. He even curved the Republican National Convention this year, said, "Nah, I'm focused on my bag, business and entertainment. Bottom line, 50's political plays ain't about parties, they're about profits." He's pushing policies that help economic growth, especially for black folks, but critics still think he's really just looking out for himself. So the takeaway here is that this whole thing is a major lesson in what can go wrong when celebrities try to play politics without doing their homework, or worse, without listening to the people who actually live there. At the end of the day, if you're gonna jump into the ring, you better be ready to fight with facts, not just flashy speeches and studio deals. What do you think about rappers getting involved in politics? Do you think 50 Cent was just trying to secure his own bag, or was there something more to it? Let us know all about it down below.